Hey guys, welcome back to more HOA stories. In this video, a homeowner association designated my private lake as public property and invited more than 50 HOA members to trespass on my land. Here is what happened. Let's dive right into the video. So I am a 42-year-old guy who spends way too long at work to want to deal with anybody's crap anymore. My patience is just zero for people that don't want to listen, and I spent years dealing with the annoyance that was the HOA in the neighborhood next to mine. Yes, next to mine, meaning they should not even be doing or speaking to anybody in my neighborhood, but that does not seem to stop them. I have a property that is large and right on a lake. The lake is fully within my property, and some of the land on the other side of the lake is technically mine as well. I can understand at first people not fully understanding that it was not a public lake and the fact that I needed to put up signs that it was private property. For the most part that works, aside from once in a while people that just don't seem to care to read the signs, but it almost always leads to them just leaving and it not being too stressful. Being an accountant during tax season, in particular during this story, meant that I was really not wanting to deal with the crap anybody has regarding me or my property. However, the HOA was famous for starting fights with people in my neighborhood because we did not need to follow the rules they did, and it made the places look clearly different. So basically, we kept getting notices from them to please try and follow rules and other garbage like that. None of which is super important for this story, just know that they did not like to keep things within their own neighborhood like they are meant to. I knew for a fact that the HOA was very focused on my property, in particular due to the lake and a lot of open land. They had come to me before about using it for certain events, and I always told them the same thing. No, I did not want random people on my property, even if the HOA was willing to pay to rent the space for the day, because I like my privacy. One day I saw a flyer near my property on one of the telephone poles where people post about lost pets or garage sales. This was talking about a big HOA barbecue party, and the address for it was listed as my house. I did not wait or think about anything and instead went right to the HOA to stop this before it even started. I did not know what they were thinking, but I was not gonna sit around and let it get this far. Going to the HOA, I saw more of the flyers basically all over the place, and I knew that everybody was going to be aware about this party. The HOA at first did not want to speak to me, so I talked to a few of the residents to see if they knew anything. All of them seemed excited, saying the HOA got them a lake and were claiming it was basically HOA property. I tried to correct people, but none seemed to want to listen. Now, I knew I had to talk to the HOA and did not leave until they spoke to me. I told them I saw the flyers and that I never agreed to let them use my property. And that I knew they were telling people the entire area was HOA property they could use at any point. The HOA president was dismissive and told me that I did not own the lake and that I needed to stop being selfish. Since I was not allowing the public lake to be used properly, the HOA was just gonna come in and enforce the rules. I tried and failed to get them to listen to the fact that I owned the lake, and in the following days up to that big event I saw more people coming to my lake and even flat out ignoring the signs I put up. Some left, but others told me that the private property signs were done by the HOA, and since they were members it was fine. I decided to wait until the big day before I made my move so I could do something big enough to really show them that they should not mess around with me. I had very clear signs and property markers too, so that they couldn't argue ignorance about things. Over 50 cars of people showed up and were parking on my grass, setting up barbecues and going into the lake. Loud music was playing from speakers somebody brought, and I was standing there looking at the HOA board, pissed off. Some even mocked me and made sure that I knew it was the HOA's lake and I couldn't do a damn thing about it. I was waiting for the right moment, and it finally happened once the HOA board wanted to give a speech by the lake to basically talk about how awesome they were. I called a private towing company and explained that I had 50 cars illegally parked on my property and wanted them all gone. They were smart and knew that it would be a big payday for them when the people wanted the cars back. The company was not small and was able to send out 10 trucks at a time to take cars away. The HOA took so long and the tow company worked so quickly that the second round of cars was getting towed before anybody noticed. People started freaking out and the HOA came up to me and told me that I couldn't do this and then tried to stop the tow trucks from taking the cars. Somebody must have called the police because they arrived and they were there when the tow trucks came back for round 3. Cops told them to hold on until we could sort this out. The HOA explained that they were having an event at the lake and it was public, so they had the right to just use it. I let the president speak because it was just gonna create a bigger hole once I showed the police what I had. At first they tried to tell me that I could not tow cars away if they were parked on the lake property. I showed them my deed, which included the fact that the lake and all the land was owned by me. Pointing out the private property signs and explained I tried to tell the HOA when I saw the flyers, but they wouldn't listen. No more cars got towed as the police had everybody leave and I was okay with 20 out of 50 cars getting towed and needing them to pay the company in order to get them back. People were not happy though and did not want to listen to the police about leaving, still insisting it was public property. They finally left after police started to threaten to give citations and arrests for trespassing. Nobody got arrested, but as you can imagine, people were not happy with the HOA due to the whole aftermath of things. People had to pay to get their cars back, which the HOA was refusing to help with, claiming they never told people they could park there, so it wasn't their fault. An excuse that none of the residents wanted to hear. The HOA had lost all its credibility after promising the residents a nice new place and then it turning out to be somebody else's home. I think the police also followed up with the HOA about the fact that they kept overstepping because nobody was hearing from them in my neighborhood after that happened. Basically, they were properly embarrassed and I would not be shocked if within the next few months the HOA ends up either changing hands or being shut down completely. People are still upset, and while some blame me for calling the tow company, most of them are rightfully mad at the HOA for lying and getting them to participate in a mass trespassing. And yeah, Ripe Stars, I'm curious, if masses of HOA neighborhood members trespassed on your property, what would you have done? I'm very curious. Let me know in the comments, and while you're at it, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel because we are getting closer and closer to 130,000 subscribers. The next one is titled, Domino's driver stole our package, so we got her fired and arrested. This happened to us a few nights ago. We were out and about running errands and were coming home. So we got a notification on our Ring doorbell and we were a couple blocks from home and just assumed it was another car passing our house. When we got to our street, there is a Domino's Jeep parked in front of our house and the driver was getting into the driver's side and leaving. We just assumed she was delivering pizza to a neighbor because we had just gotten food. So if you were to watch the video at the very end, you can actually see our car coming up the road. We grabbed the groceries and I get to the front door and realized the package we got notified was delivered was not at our door. I told hubby about it and he said, what if Domino's took it? We reviewed our Ring doorbell and sure enough, in the video that is included, you see the Domino's delivery woman stealing a package. This package contained a heater for our home. Most of our heaters broke last year when we first moved into our house and we are just getting to replacing them for this winter. We needed to stay warm, especially with me pregnant this winter. We could have just let it go and Amazon could get us another one since it was stolen, but we were pissed that we literally saw the thief drive away and thought that she could get away with our property. Also, my hormones are off the charts and I was furious. Hubby calls the police while I go over to the closest Domino's that delivers to us in our neighborhood. I show them the video and they confirm that she is an employee and currently on shift. And the supervisor at the store told me that he would contact his manager and that the manager would get back to me as soon as they could with an update. Glad that they didn't let me stay at the store, I would have torn her to shreds. To spare you all of the details, I would just sum up. We had a lot of back and forth between us and the manager, us and the cops, and the manager and the cops. The video was shown and shared to the manager and cops, so they had the proof in their pockets. They caught her while she was on delivery and arrested her, and they brought back our package. So it ended up being a very happy ending, and I'm forever grateful for that Domino's store and their workers for helping us and the awesome police department to get our package back and catching a thief. I in no way blame their store for what happened, I blame the person who decided to do what she did. Now she's in jail for trying to steal our literal warmth this winter. The cop who brought our package back did not give us any details about the woman, but said that she admitted to it, and I don't see how she could deny it when it's in her backseat and we have her on video literally looking into the camera. But we are looking at the arrest reports for the next couple days to see if we can find her name. And yes, we did get free pizza, even though I told the manager that was not necessary because he helped so much and we got our package back, but he insisted. And the next one is titled, "Try to run me off the road and nearly kill me? I've got your number." So, prologue. After driving for a decade and a half, privately and later professionally, yesterday was the first time I experienced a commercial truck trying to run me off the road. I was passing another truck when this idiot ran up right behind me to the point that I couldn't see anything behind me but their grille. If I had any sort of sudden mechanical problem or hit some debris in the road, that tractor would have eaten my little car in the blink of an eye. So that was irritating, but I overtook the truck to my right and merged once I left them enough room to follow me safely, the exact opposite of what the other a-hole was doing, and apparently me not cutting off the person I was passing as soon as I could was a mortal offense to this snowflake. They floored it, and once they were level with me, they swerved into my lane. I mean, they swerved into my lane almost all the way across. I had to dive into the shoulder to keep from being crushed. F anyone who thinks this is in any way okay. They could have killed not only me, but they could have caused a pileup with multiple trucks as well as passenger cars. I was furious and I noted the company name and description of the rig, but I knew that for the authorities to have anything usable, I had to get the info on the tractor. I gritted my teeth, dropped the gears and risked pulling ahead of the truck again so I could catch the license plate. After I got it, I saw a sign for an upcoming exit where I could stop and call the police. I realized that this crazy son of a gun might actually follow me, so gritting my teeth, I let them overtake me again, watching for the smallest sign they would try to kill me again. As soon as they were past the off-ramp, I hit my signal and GTFO. So now onto the revenge. I called the state police and was able to speak with the dispatcher, who seemed to take the report seriously. After I hung up, I felt better, but I had that feeling inside that justice was still wanting, so after I got home I looked up the name of the company I saw on the truck, and on a side, I have a Class A license, so I know that commercial drivers are held to a higher standard than private motorists, higher fines, less tolerance for effery. I also know that there's a federal agency responsible for regulating commercial vehicle operations, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, or FMCSA. Screw up often enough or bad enough and they will take your license and/or shut down your entire company. I found the company on Google and to the surprise of absolutely no one, saw that other people had previously complained about their unprofessional drivers. I thought of leaving a review there, but realized that that would do nothing. I thought of emailing the company, but figured that since this didn't appear to be an isolated incident, that they were probably already aware and possibly even promoted a bottom-line fly-by-night culture. I needed a way to put pressure on them too if I wanted anything to happen. I looked up the company on the FMCSA website and from there I was able to discover the company's insurance carrier. A plan formed in my mind. This idiot tried to end my life. I was going to make him pay the only way I could. I decided to use the law of crap rolling downhill to drop as much as I could on this guy. First, I drafted a report to submit via the FMCSA complaint website. I detailed everything about the incident, the time, the location, and the identification of the truck. I made sure to illustrate that this person had shown no regard for human life. After I submitted that official complaint, I wrote a similar letter to the company's insurance carrier. So then, thanks to the FMCSA company listing, I was even able to provide the policy number that they were carried under. I made sure to illustrate that this person was an untenable liability who had only created enormous risk to safety and property. I mentioned that I had already submitted a report to the governing agency as well as the police. Lastly, I wrote an email to the company, whose website was almost incomprehensibly cancerous, detailing the incident. I made sure to illustrate that their driver is a ticking time bomb that nearly lost their load, their tractor, and generally cost them a fortune. I mentioned that I'd reported the incident to the police, the FMCSA, and the insurance carrier, which I named so they knew that I was not just blowing smoke. Truth be told, I have no way of knowing for sure what will happen when the stadies, the FMCSA, and the insurance folks get to talking. However, I would put good money that this a-hole gets his pink slip at least. Maybe the company's premium will blow up, maybe their policy will get pulled, hell, if I'm lucky, maybe they will even go under. A guy can dream. And the next one is titled Better Pay, Mate. I lived in a few shared houses when I was at uni. Most of the bills were included in the rent except Wi-Fi. So I took this on in my name and agreed to split the cost 3 ways with my 2 housemates to make it affordable for all of us. Simple, right? Well, it became the bane of my existence. Every single month, without fail, I had to chase them for money. Housemate A would forget to pay me. She must have had dementia as the bill was on the same date every month for a year, but credit where credit is due, she would pay me on the day I reminded her or the next day. Housemate B would come out with the same excuse every month. I'm a bit skint this month, mate. I get half as much student loan as you. Can I pay you double next month? I would have accepted this if her mom was not giving her money every month, doubling what she was getting in student loan. There was naturally a lot of tension in the house because of this, so I started staying over at my boyfriend's place the odd night, which turned into 3 nights until I unofficially moved in. I was still paying rent on my house share due to being tied in with the tenancy agreement and not being able to afford to end the agreement early. Another month rolled by. I messaged them both yet again to ask for the bill money. Housemate A had forgotten again, but promised to get it to me by the end of the day when she got home, and housemate B was skint again. I went rounds to my house to grab some clean clothes to take back to my boyfriend's, and lo and behold, on the way there I saw housemate B sitting in the Chinese takeaway surrounded by shopping bags. It would appear she had quite the shopping spree at the MAC, Benefit and Urban Decay makeup counters. Well, the red mist had descended. I had well and truly had enough by this point, so I went into my house, shoved some clean clothes into a bag as planned along with the Wi-Fi router and plug, so they couldn't plug in a new router, and then left. I then messaged them both saying, I am fed up of you both taking the piss out of me. The whole point of splitting a bill 3 ways is so we can all afford it, but I'm being left financially short every month because you are both unable or unwilling to pay me on time. You will notice when you both get home that the Wi-Fi router and plug is no longer there, and I will no longer be paying for your Wi-Fi. So I suggest you either go to the library or start a new contract, which will cost you more as I won't be contributing. You both have deadlines in a week, so you better get a wriggle on and sort something out. Sucks to be you. And yeah, Ripe Stars, I gotta say, I can fully relate to this story, because once I also lived in a shared flat with a friend, and that friend was also always late when it came to paying the rent. I mean, you know, if you have a bad month or something and you cannot pay on time, that is okay. However, if that becomes a habit, then I'm really not okay with that. The same goes for borrowing people money. I got no issues with borrowing money to friends or family, and even if you cannot give it back in time, if you're honest about it, then no problem really. However, if you are BSing and lying to me, then I will definitely think twice about giving you money in the future. And the next one is titled Mechanic Revenge. Many years ago, I had an old Buick with a small radiator leak. I used to just add water once a week and it was fine, but it was slowly getting worse. I saw an ad for a radiator shop that did free estimates. I gave them a call and they said I would have to leave the vehicle with them. I arranged a ride, and when I dropped it off, I was told it would be one of 3 things. If they could patch it, it would be $50. If they could recore it, it would be $100. But if they had to replace it, it would be $250. These were of course 1980s prices. Since it was just a small leak, I was sure it could just be patched. I did not hear from them the rest of the day, so I called them the next day. They told me, "That radiator's shot, you need a new one." I said no thanks and I would come by to pick it up later. I heard just silence on the other end of the line, but figured he was just angry that he was losing a sale. When I arrived, I was greeted by a different person that I had spoken with the day before. He had a big smile on his face and said, "What can I do for you?" I said I was there to pick up the Buick, and the smile just washed right off his face. Without saying a word, he turned around, grabbed the keys from a hook behind him, and then threw them at me. I bounced off the counter and landed on the floor by the front door. I was confused but picked them up and left. When I got home, it all became clear. I popped the hood and saw that they had removed the radiator and had patched the leak. They then painted my radiator and reinstalled it and were going to sell it back to me as new. Paint was still tacky. I drove that car for another 6 years, it never overheated once. About 3 years after the incident, the shop went out of business. The dumb part is, if they had told me they could patch or recore it, I would have said sure, go ahead, but since they tried to screw me, they ended up screwing themselves. And yeah guys, with this we have reached the end of the video. However, if you cannot get enough of my content, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel to not miss any of my daily uploads. And also check out my podcast by searching for Ripe Stories on Spotify, Amazon, Audible and other podcast platforms. You will often find exclusive episodes and early access to new content. Furthermore, please check out my Patreon by going to patreon.com/ripeyoutube or my YouTube membership program for even more exclusive stories. Thank you so much, and I will see you again tomorrow.